In the previous lesson, you learned how to configure the encoders in Robot C using the Motors and Sensor Setup menu. In this lesson, we'll take a closer look at why you need to clear the encoders and how the while loop works. In the shaft encoders lesson, you learned that these two lines of code, sensor value, right encoder equals 0, and sensor value, left encoder equals 0, set the encoders to start counting at 0. You also learned that they should be included every time you want to control the distance the robot travels with the encoders. But what you haven't learned is why doing so is important. If the encoders start out at a value greater than 0, the robot will travel less than the correct distance. And if they start out at a value less than 0, the robot will travel further than the correct distance. Clearing the encoders before every use improves the consistency and precision of your robot's movements. Now let's take a look at the part of the code where your robot checks the encoders and decides if it's supposed to stop yet, the while loop. If your robot could talk, the while loop would sound something like this.
Are we there yet?
No.
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 Are we there yet?
Yes. The while loop has three main parts. Part 1 is the while command itself. The while loop always has the word while, along with one set of parentheses with code between them, and one set of curly braces with more code between them. The code in between the parentheses is part 2, the condition. The condition describes what it is the while loop is supposed to check to see whether the robot is there yet. In this case, it's checking to see whether the value of the encoder, left encoder, is less than 1800, or 5 rotations of the wheel. You can pretty much read it exactly the way it looks. While the value of the left encoder is less than 1800, run these commands. The while loop checks whether the encoder value is less than 1800, and if it is, runs part 3, the commands inside the curly braces. Immediately after running the movement commands, it loops back, checks again, runs the commands again, and repeats until the condition is no longer true. For our value of the left encoder is less than 1800 condition, this means that when the encoder reaches 1800, the loop will end.
Is the value of the left encoder less than 1800?
Yes.
Is the value of the left encoder less than 1800?
Yes.
Is the value of the left encoder less than 1800?
Yes.
Is the value of the left encoder less than 1800?
No. In this lesson, you learned why clearing the encoders is important, and that the while loop is used to repeat commands until its condition is no longer true. Move on to the next lesson to continue your investigation of the program using the Robot C sensor debug window.